we're talking about how there are so much more concerns other than COVID here. For one, we're tackling inflation here in the country, in particular, elevated levels here. How is that affecting the appetite here from British investors? And does that in any way offset potential interest after a few economic legislations were made in the last administration?
Yeah, look, I think the British investors are very much encouraged by, obviously, the round of legislation was passed towards the end, obviously, of the Duterte administration. We were very keen advocates for that. We'd like to see that further continuing. I think British investors are also looking to see it, and they're hoping, and that's been one of the pronouncements from the new Secretary of Department of Trade and Investment, obviously Secretary Pasquale, that one of the priorities is going to be the ratification of RCEP. We consider that to be a very important development, and the reason for that is, and it's one of the key points, we see the Philippines not only as an important market for investors and doing business, but also as a gateway to Southeast Asia. So we're looking to see the continuing further liberalization of the economy, and obviously hoping to see within one of the points being mentioned is that ratification, and obviously the Senate will do that very quickly once they obviously resume, I think, which is on the 25th of July after the SONA.
Okay, Chris, how confident are you that that might actually happen here? Because, you know, we do have several legislators saying that, sure, we do want to be part of RCEP, but now is not the time, especially since the competitiveness of the Philippines, we haven't recovered to such a level where we could be competing with what they call the elephants, like China or other countries.
Well, I think the case is that there's going to be great opportunities, and if you look at RCEP and that program, Diane, I mean, I think the only three countries remaining to ratify, if I'm correct, is the Philippines, Indonesia, which I think is progressing, and possibly Myanmar. So I think when we have to look at these things is the opportunities is now, and countries have signed up. And let's not forget, I mean, the Philippines can compete. I mean, I think there are areas that we can compete in very well. And I think what we're looking at here is really a signal. And I think it's very good that Secretary Pasquale, I think also NEDA has made the point that they wish it to be ratified as well. So definitely there's an urgency there. And I think this is the time. You know, yes, we need to help and improve and work, and obviously on agriculture, but at the same time, I think the opportunities to be taken is now at this moment.
Okay, again, Chris, like what you mentioned, much of the contention here regarding RCEP zeroes in on the agricultural sector. A number of producers, of course, contesting our potential membership to RCEP. What do you think is going to be the challenge here for President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., considering especially that he appointed himself as Agriculture Secretary, and how big of a task is it for him to ensure food security, considering the times that we are in at the moment?
Look, I think it's very interesting, obviously very important that President Marcos has obviously assumed for now the role of agriculture, and obviously he clearly sees that as an important focus. And I think it is important. I mean, obviously inflation is a factor, and obviously food supply. I think he's also mentioned the need to keep, obviously, imports to obviously help in terms of that inflation. And in that note, let me just add, the role of British companies. We had a meat mission in May, and I would just like to say that obviously British pork, for example, is already up over 46% in terms of exports to the Philippines for the first 4 months. And I think these things will help also to bring down the inflation. But I think also in contrasting with agriculture, it's the continuing need, which has been highlighted, to continue to do the investment and see the economy grow. Now, obviously, they've tapered down the growth rates from previous figures, but it's still to get back to those pre-pandemic levels. So, one, I would just summarize, yes, food security, but I think also he's highlighted, and obviously British companies are there to assist in terms of certainly on the supply of British beef and pork. And I think there's an opportunity to continue further investments, particularly in the digital economy, and improve the infrastructure and make the Philippines continue to be robust.